Episode 11.
11.
Woo!
We made it past the spoiler episode.
All right.
I was so nervous for that spoiler.
Why?
I don't know. It's our first one.
It was perfect. And we got
Two.
Yes.
Got two. Welcome to Grand Archive episode number 11. Woo, it's Grand Archive time.
Yes, it is Grand Archive time. So on top of our spoiler video, we've been having a bunch of other spoilers coming out from other content creators as well as Weaves of the Shore. I think their newest one was I think Prismatic Sanctuary was yesterday. I've been trying to stay on top of the spoilers because I was in Washington. Thankfully, I am back now. But yeah, we were just going to go over spoilers and some other, I don't know, just some other TCG things that are going on that we felt was relevant. Did you want to go from right to left?
Yeah, so basically just to kind of piggyback on what James was saying there, I think we're going to try a little formatting of the episodes from now on. So where it's like we're going to try to, I think, we'll do like news, anything that's like dropping, anything that we should talk about, and then kind of a topic that we just want to kind of cover. And I think so for news, we have spoilers, we have a little bit of supporter pack news, is really small, and then our big topic today is going to be how to win and lose well at your locals, because I think that is an important topic that I think as Grand Archive grows and want to keep a positive community, I think that's actually really important, is to understand that you're not going to win every game, and even when you do win, there's still things you can do to be kind of there's such things as sore winners as well too, as well as sore losers. And I just think it's something that's it's not super well talked about, but it's something that I think could help.
Yeah, and not practiced enough. And I know it happens all the time across pretty much every game. And I think people hear it and they go, well, I don't do that. And then like the very next round, they do it on the spot. And I'm just like, well, what happened? But no, we'll go over all that
first,
stuff.
We'll talk about some new cards. We got some new spoilers. I don't know if we're going to hit all the ones that came out since our spoiler video, but we'll make sure after this video, we'll mark which ones we talked about. And then when we get new spoilers, hopefully by the time we get to our next episode, we'll be more in line.
Yes.
So we will start from right to left. And the first card is Dematerialize. You want to talk about Dematerialize?
Yes.
Or at least read it off for us.
So I think this was from TM32. Who spoiled it? It says,
I think so too.
Return target Regalia. It's an action cleric spell. Return target Regalia to its owner's material deck. There is is it CSR? Yeah, there is a CSR version. Or no, that's
the next card. Just
Materialize.
3-cost win card. It is slow speed, and you get to return a target Regalia to its owner's material deck. It's a pretty simple effect, but I think it might be pretty strong actually.
So I'm trying to think of any Regalia that has a ETB effect, and then you could bring it back to you, and then if you want to trigger it again. Other than that,
there's that, but I think really what this card's going to do is it's kind of the wind version of Spurn to Ash. So you don't get to destroy it like you do with in Fire, but you do get rid of it for a turn. So it doesn't say your right, it's to the target owner. So like if they have something like a lantern and you're playing with Wind Lorraine, and you care about the Crux cards in your graveyard, this can help you get rid of that Regalia and move it back to the material deck. Another thing that's interesting is that it doesn't specify cost. It doesn't specify what kind of Regalia, just any kind of Regalia that comes from the material deck. So if there's something problematic on your opponent's side or something expensive on your opponent's side that was very difficult to get out, I think the Horrors, the Majestic Spirit, is it still Regalia?
Yeah. Well, it's a Regalia ally.
So it's a Regalia ally. So if they spend all that work, playing the card that summons it and then the Majestic Spirit itself, you get rid of it without having to deal with it in any real way, right? So that's a really good counter they're already printing for that card. So I think this is more going to be used against your opponent as opposed to bouncing something you have back. However, there could be things in the future where your opponent's also giving you something bad from the Regalia deck. Think like in Flesh and Blood we have the hexes that they kind of give you. Something like that.
I was thinking of not that Excalibur is relevant right now,
but
the Cursed Sword you could kind of bring it back. While you were explaining that, no, what you were saying makes perfect sense because when Lorraine sets up okay, I'm going to play Drawn Blade so that she can do shenanigans with it when they hit level 3. Maybe you can return it, and then they're like, well, now if I hit level 3, I can play Pendragon to return a Regalia to do all that. It kind of sets them back a turn. Kind of with the Lantern. Or already Lantern's like, well, I'm kind of losing a turn by playing this, but hopefully it'll be relevant. Now if you return the Lantern, they're like, well, now I got to do it again. And yeah, no, it's pretty cool. I think I got these cards mixed up. Is it the same character? Or it looks like the same.
It looks like the same character. Yeah, why not? It's So we'll move on to the next card. I will read this one off. So it's going to be a 2-cost wind ally unique. Her name is Parsonet, Royal Maid. So she's a 1/3, and her ability reads at level 2+, she gains stealth, and then otherwise you can rest her to glimpse 1, and you reveal the top card of your deck afterwards. And when you reveal a wind element card this way, another target ally you control gains stealth until end of turn. And she has a really cool collector rare that we're going to also be putting on the screen side by side, so you can see that. I do like that the collector rares aren't just the same art, but like full art. It's actually like, it looks like pretty much new art to me. So that's pretty cool. Other than that though, I think this card, it's pretty interesting. It having stealth itself is kind of built-in protection. So other than for like cleaves and sweeps and stuff, and of course the True Sight Sword allows you to still hit it, but at the same time, being able to glimpse 1 every single turn could actually matter in some decks. Yeah. Absolutely. Any deck that cares about the top card of their deck, and of course, filtering in a sort of way, and also revealing that wind card, and you give it another thing stealth. So she kind of like, being a mage, she like helps out and like protects something else. I think that's pretty interesting. Yeah, and it's got, it's a 2-cost, so even if you just want humans out, it's very cheap to get out there. It's a 1/3, so it'll survive some things. Yep. And I like the flavor text. It says, always serving, never seen. So as a glimpse tool, you can just keep her out, and she's getting a ton of value that way, but she has stealth as well. So, no, and for 2 costs, you can't really go wrong with playing her. I think she's really good. So, let me see. And it was level 2 to have stealth. She doesn't come out as stealth, but you can get that. You can get there pretty fast. Level 2 is pretty fast. It's usually the second or third turn of the game. Yeah. Well, second turn is like level 1 typically, and then third turn of the game you're either getting like a Grand Crusader's Ring or going to level 2 depending on the game. But absolutely. So I think this card is pretty strong. It's considered strong enough to get a collector rare. That's how I look at it. It's like they think this card is going to be unique enough, impactful enough that they want to give it the special treatment. I don't know if that's exactly how they look at it when they give cards collector rares, but that's how I look at it typically, is that you'll give something that you think is like iconic. Yeah. Well, in some way. Something from our spoiler that some people commented was like the special art version, the CSR, is the same art as the normal card. Oh yeah. But I was also like, well, I'm glad they didn't change it, because like, look how good it looks. But then they also have. You can see the ferret. Yeah, you don't want to leave him out. So I don't know if it's up to the artists or how that whole thing goes, but some of the cards, like with Parsonet, one of them shows her very chill, probably like she's being, an assassin. She's like just not drawing attention, but then the other one, she's clearly doing something in action to show the dynamic of like what's happening. But she's actually like a unit that can attack or do something. It's not just, she's not just a maid. Right. She's an assassin maid. So, no, great spoiler. We can move on to Fracturize. And this is in water. It's a 2-cost cleric mage spell. Target item or weapon becomes a cleric fractal fantasia with reservable and loses all other abilities. And this lasts indefinitely. With most water cards, it is also floating memory. Yep. So not only is it fast, which is always handy, but I think this could be really annoying. We were just talking about this before we started the video. And you were saying it doesn't turn it into a token or something, or it doesn't turn into a token, but just completely. Yeah, it's not like a new card. It just like blanks the card, right? So it doesn't have any ability that it normally would have. It becomes a cleric fractal fantasia reservable. So it becomes like you're kind of ramping them like 1 mana if you use it on your opponent's stuff. So you give them like a mana, or like basically like a reserve cost to use every turn. So it's like an extra card in hand to pay for things, essentially. But you're getting rid of something problematic, right? You're getting rid of something like that you don't want on the field. I don't know. Some like I don't know if water will care about this, but a proclamation tithe. What is it called? Smothering. Title proclamation.
Tithe proclamation. Yeah.
I think I'm combining cards.
No.
Title proclamation. I don't know how much water super cares about drawing cards, but if you're playing like a water Lorraine build that's still trying to cycle Crux cards to draw, that could be something that comes up, and this can get rid of that. Essentially, you do again ramp them a mana, so there's like a trade off for that, but.
No, and I think I think this card just gets better the more cards that come out over sets. I was thinking of, it doesn't see too much play, but I think it will next set. There is the 2/3 sword that you can only play with floating memory, and if you're a warrior, it's a 3/3.
Yep.
I can just picture someone maybe playing Mordred, and they pump that out a turn, and you're just like, well, no, and you just fracturize it, and you're like, sorry, you paid 3 floating memory for that, but now it's gone.
Yeah.
I don't know. And actually, where it's not the next card, but there is another new sword in this set. And that's another example of like, sure.
Yeah. I'll read this one off. So it's a sword. So it comes from the Regalia deck. It has one. It's memory cost when it's from there, I think. And so 1 memory cost. It's called Erendite Azure Blade. So sorry if I butchered that.
No, I think
one cost sword. Regalia weapon. Warrior sword is a 1 power attack with 2 durability. Class bonus, on enter, you may banish any amount of cards with floating memory from your graveyard. For each card banished this way, put a refinement counter on Erendite. Erendite gets +2 attack for each refinement counter. So this card can get really stupid really fast in Water. But something to kind of be wary about is there's a lot of ways for a lot of decks to deal with weapons like as a fast speed. So I will say be very careful if you're playing like a wind opponent and they have mana up, they have cards in hand to pay for things. If
they're waiting,
if you go to swing with like you banish a bunch of cards with floating memory, you give this like a bunch of you make it really big, and then they Zephyr it.
Like all that work for nothing.
So it does waste your materialize, and you lose like all the the what were they called? The refinement counters. You lose all the refinement +2 counters, basically. So be careful with that. But otherwise, I think this is probably like, I guess it's technically the strongest sword we've ever seen, because it's like infinite.
Yes.
As many cards as you have floating memory. So
it can have scarier potential in matchups where it's not being, you're not prepared for that sort of thing. And I think that's kind of what Fracturize does, which is why I like it. It's kind of like a security system for the game to keep things in check. So if an item or Regalia does come out and you can ramp it up, at least there's an answer where it's like, well, it could be fracturized or something like that.
Erendite, I think, is actually really cool too because it has 2 durability. And so you can use it in the same turn with, what's the creature that can attack as well? The ally?
Galahad?
Yeah, Galahad. So I know Andrew loves Galahad.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if he'll appreciate this, but I do think that if you can have like an OTK, maybe not an OTK, but a finisher, basically, where you make this like an 8/2 weapon, which doesn't seem that far-fetched, which I guess it would be a 9/2, because it starts at 1. So it's a 9/2 weapon, and you swing it once with your hero, and then swing it once with your with Galahad.
Oh, it's going to hit like a bus.
Bam, like, or just any other way to wake up your hero to your champion. So
yeah. No, it's really good, and it's only 1.
Yeah, so, I really like Fracturize and really like Erendite, and I think they're giving Water a lot of really cool tools that it needed because we don't really see Water
needed.
Outside of Water Assassin right now, and even that's kind of struggling because you have a lot of setup, which sometimes they just don't let you get to. So moving on, we have Develop Mana.
So first thing I want to say about this card was, and I know you talk about Flesh and Blood a lot, the next two mage spell cards that were spoiled do kind of remind me of Flesh and Blood. It took kind of like a step back from the heavy anime sort of feel, but that's kind of what I wanted for a mage. A lot of it was just the effects, but now we see the actual wizards like casting them.
Yep.
So this is a 3-cost Norm element spell. Develop mana, put a level counter on your champion. Do we already have level counters? I don't know if that's a brand new thing.
No, we do have level counters. They're not super common, but there's level counters in Merlin. Mostly.
Oh, that's right. For every banished card she gets rid of. Okay. And it's very simple. It's just put a level counter on your champion. I think this card is great. It doesn't matter that it's slow. It's just there are plenty of times where you get into like the end of a game and you're like, if I only had one more resource, or I was one more level higher, I could do like Arcane Blast or
Well, what's funny
something.
to me, I actually don't even see this. Of course, it is a mage card. I mean, it's literally a mage card, and it's probably decent in mage. I mean, it's a little slow for them. I think this card is really good in Tamer
Oh, absolutely.
more than anything, because Tamer truly needs, like, a lot of time just one more level for any of their animals to actually do anything. And so I think this card can actually provide that to Tamer to where they can, like, you know, a lot of times in Tamer, you have to spend your materialized phase to gain that level. And that's things you aren't doing otherwise, right? Like, other heroes with their materialized phase, they're drawing cards, playing weapons, whereas Tamer's like, I got ears on, now I'm plus one level.
Right, yeah.
So I think that's rough for them, whereas this can help you kind of ramp your level. I mean, that's exactly what it does, but they don't need to do it that often. Maybe even playing one develop mana in a game can mean the difference between level 4 and 5 later on. So that means Monkey is like live for you faster and things like that.
A lot of things do. I mean, even with our spoiler, Bedivere turns on that much faster.
It's a level 3 bonus, I believe it was, for Bedivere.
Yep. So, I mean, even at the start of the game, let's say you go second, you draw 7 and then 1 extra for 8. If you play 2 of these, you're already like, okay, like you're that far ahead and getting the animals you need. Because right now in Tamer, I know they have like the Frenzied Warthog or whatever, and it's really sturdy, but it's like you have to be level 5 to use it, and you're just like, when is that going to happen?
Yeah, and it's like, why are we doing this?
So no, you made a really good point on that. I'm sure you can use it also in like warrior and other stuff, but I don't think it's going to really go in there. But
I think it's right now in the classes that we have right now, I think it has a home. If it sees play, it'll have a home in either Mage or Tamer. Mage, really only because it's also a Mage spell, so it triggers level 2 Rye.
Yep.
Which is important, of course. And then we have 2 more cards. First one being Voltaic Sphere. This card is awesome. This card is great. So Voltaic Sphere is a 2-cost arcane mage spell action. It's slow speed, and it reads, deal 3 damage to target unit. If that unit is an ally, deal 5 damage to it instead. And then it also has class bonus, banish Voltaic Sphere from your graveyard. The next arcane element spell card you activate this turn costs 1 less to activate. So the first effect is okay. I mean, it's pretty good. 2 damage, but I mean, you're an arcane, right? And there's a lot of ways to deal 3 damage to things. I don't think and then 5 damage to an ally. It's targeted spot removal, or you can hit someone for 3 damage. I don't think that wouldn't like break the bank anywhere. That's not gonna like burn down any houses, especially like once you're in arcane. Like the games, like the cards you have in arcane to just deal damage are massive, right? Like I mean, sometimes they cost a lot, but I'm not saying that part's bad. I'm just saying that part's okay. What makes this card really good to me is that second effect, that class bonus, where you can banish Voltaic Sphere from your graveyard. So already, just those words, it's arcane itself. So already you're turning on, like you're giving Rye a level.
Yeah. You can put that on any mage card and it's like, woo!
And then the next arcane element spell you cost to activate this turn costs 1 less. So you gain a level.
It's almost like getting 2 levels, And
the next thing you play costs 1 less. So that can be the difference of like you can play this, deal 3, then banish it, and suddenly you're like, I'm level 11, bam. Or level 10, and still play the card for free. The Arcane Blast? What it's called? The 11 damage one.
Yes, I was going to say Arcane Explosion, but that is a
World of
Warcraft spell, so no.
I can hear that sound in my head.
I can't do it. Yeah. People would spam it in Ironforge or wherever you are. Okay. I think this card is insane.
Yeah, it's great.
For all the reasons you said, I actually love the first part, and it's only because I've been in matchups against Lorraine, and they're like, okay, I'm bringing out Ghost Horsey, and you're like, I can't kill this thing with anything other than a fireball, but I don't want to use a fireball, because that's typically to like blow up your opponent. For 2, this just blows that up. It blows up a lot of tough allies they may throw on the board, and a lot of mages are like, I'll just ignore it, but you can't ignore it for too long. Things like beating you up turn after turn. I think 5 gets you over most allies. I'm sure there are some that can survive that, but no, the big thing was the class bonus. Not only for 2 are you able to banish something into, banish it, get that level. There are just countless games where I'm like, I just need one more level, or I need one more.
It really pushes
thing.
it over the top for sure.
And then, so you have this, and you have the raccoon that's banishing stuff. I think you're going to be able to ramp up, like,
I think the raccoon will
now.
mostly see play and messing with your opponent's floating memory.
Mm-hmm.
But I do also recognize that is something it can do, is that you can banish your own arcane spells as well. So, no, I think Voltaic Sphere is thrown into every arcane mage build, like, ever.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
It's very good. And finally, the last card we're going to talk about today is called Prismatic Sanctuary. I think this was just spoiled over on Twitter by the actual Grand Arcade team.
Yeah, I think so.
And it is a 3-cost normal domain, unique domain, Mage Castle. Its upkeep is a little different than the upkeeps we've seen. It says, at the beginning of your Recollection phase, reveal a card at random from your memory. If that card is not fire, water, nor wind elements, sacrifice Prismatic Sanctuary. Then finally, its actual effect is fire, water, and wind elements are enabled for you. So, I'll be honest, I don't think this card sees a whole lot of play right away, because I think it's one of those things that people are going to have to play with.
Yeah, and we're going to need a much bigger library of cards before you can take advantage of this.
And I think even if, like, it has the same kind of effect as Trisket, right? Where it makes you're available to use any of the basic elements, right? One of the things that's weird about doing that is until you see Prismatic Sanctuary, all of the whatever element you picked, whatever you're not, so like let's say you picked fire, so the wind and water cards in your deck, all they can do is be used for reserve cost at that point, right? They're just like mana rocks at that point. They don't have effects. So like it's one of those weird things where like if you're kind of relying on your strategy to have this card out and be able to play those wind and water cards, you might be hard pressed to. It's like a consistency thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
No, it's going to be clunky as hell. And I've seen people go, well, you just don't play norm cards. And I'm like, good luck with that. There's way too many good staple norm cards, especially ones with floating memory, that if you just don't have them, I'm just picturing a hand where you have fire, water, wind, and you're like, what am I doing here? And your other opponent's like, I'm aggroing you with just fire. Like,
yeah, I'm just doing.
It's too cute. Right now, it's
interesting for sure. I do like that they're building a card like this. They're putting it out there, and it lets the deck builders really go wild with it, for sure.
I mean, and maybe see that it's still too like niche. I was thinking like maybe in draft or a sealed format, because now you can be multiple elements.
You have
but
to draft
still,
it.
Yeah, you have to get that,
and then you have to see it. Yeah,
I will say though,
this card is not.
It'll make a great playmat.
It's pretty. It is very
great.
pretty, and I love the full art treatment they gave it without like the, well, like kind of like what they did with the first edition domains as well. So no, that's all of our spoilers that we're gonna go over. Not our spoilers, but spoilers that have been out since we last talked.
Yeah.
So we're gonna move into our main topic, which is, I guess, kind of just be boiled down to sportsmanship.
Yes. Like I said, I've seen it across every game we play, every other game we don't play. I see it in Discord. I hear about it at our store. So, of course, there will be people who are like, you're calling me out. And I am. It's something I am. I'm sorry. I don't, it's just, it is what it is. Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, before we get too far, I don't want it to sound like we're like casting down from heaven on high, right? Like definitely... I can speak for myself in the sense that I am definitely have fallen to this before. I've been playing in high stakes matches, or sometimes not even high stakes matches, at locals. And I've had games where I just got really invested. It was a good back and forth, and either I misplayed or the cards just didn't line up that way, and I got a little on tilt. And I am not happy about that, and I have worked really hard to try not to let that happen. And I just want to see that more in communities, because I think leaving a bad taste in your opponent's mouth in that kind of respect, whether you win or lose, that's a good way to kill a community.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I recognize that. And I want to shout out Alex. He was Alex Luploon.
Oh, yeah.
So
sorry, we have like 3 or 4 Alexes.
We do.
So,
so there was a match. This was during Flesh and Blood. And this was a couple months ago. And he was playing a really good deck. It was Fi at the time. And I was playing, I think, Dromai. And I actually ended up winning that game. But the whole time during that game, every time you would have a good turn, I kind of just was like, this is so stupid. Like, this deck is overpowered. And I was just kind of like basically throwing a fit, honestly. And he called me out. And I think that was honestly the best thing that could have happened. And that takes a lot of respect for the person across from you to do that. And I just want to say, if you're seeing that, don't be mean to the person, like if they're being that way, but don't be afraid to say something. Say like, hey, I just really wanted to enjoy the game, and unfortunately, like, sorry it didn't go your way, or whatever, but...
Right, and you're not sledgehamming them with that sort of thing. It's just keeping it balanced, and it's a welcoming attitude to be like, looking forward to playing next time, and all that stuff. I don't know. We have a number of things that I've heard constantly, and it's not just to our locals or something. But one thing I think people really don't like is they'll lose the game and they immediately go, well, I bricked, or like, well, I needed a card but I didn't get it.
It's almost like they took it from the. It's not that you won. Right. It's that I lost.
It's like, it takes away any satisfaction of being successful or their efforts paying off and practicing. No, the only reason you won is because the right
Something
card
bad
didn't come
to
up.
Me. Yeah.
There's nothing productive by saying that. You're not only taking the satisfaction of them winning, you're giving credit. Like you said, they're crediting themselves for why the opponent, like, I don't know. It's just, don't do that. Because, and the thing is, no matter how you lost, you can always say that. You can always just pop up and be like, well, if I would have done this, and they're like...
Well, if I would have drawn the 5 pieces of Exodia...
Right. And your opponent, the person who won can just go, but you didn't. And that's how games go. That's every sport, every activity.
Well, it's like welcome to card games. We're not playing chess.
Right.
The board is not similar every single time. Right? So the way our decks are stacked, the way we built our decks beforehand, there's so much variability in card games, and that's one of the reasons we play them. If every game was chess, then we'd be playing chess.
Right. I think a great amount of skill is involved in manipulating your deck to raise the chances of having a successful play. That is what separates good players from bad players, skill-wise. There's just no need for it. Don't just say good game. If you just cannot help but do this, you can even go through your deck and be like, I wonder where like this card was. And if it's on the very bottom, you're like, oh my God, look where this was. And then you both have a laugh and you're like, yeah, it kind of sucks, but like, I'll just cut better next time. Or, it's just make the best of it. Don't,
I'll say this. If you lost a game too, not a game two, but like a game as well. Like if you lost the game, I think you should almost always extend the hand, whether it's a fist bump or a handshake. Now, if you have like germ things you don't want to do that for, but like honestly, like you should be. It's a game. We come here to play a game, and we come here to have fun. So when you lose with a little bit of grace, and just say like, hey man, good game. Extend the hand, give him that fist bump, give him that handshake. And I just think that goes a long way. I think that goes a really long way when you lose the game and you extend the hand. Like, hey man, good game.
Especially when next week you're coming right back and you have to deal with that person.
People,
so if you put a terrible impression out, then it's just going to make it awkward. I hope I don't have to play against that person. Like, that's not why you're there. You're there to have a good time, and you need the community. Something else I really don't like is when players lose and they go, well, that was just going to happen because your deck is better than mine. I don't know what you're expecting the other player to do. I think everyone's bringing, if they want to win, if they are not doing something weird or whatever, they're bringing the best deck they can. They're going to play the best they can because they want to win packs, they want to win promos or points or
There are prizes on the line, and I get that, but at the end of the day, that shouldn't. Just because there are prizes on the line doesn't give you like the excuse to be terrible. Like to be so like I was saying, like just be graceful in defeat, and then be graceful in victory as well. If your opponent is having a rough go at it, they're X2, X3, they haven't won like a single match, you just say like, hey man, good game. If you don't always like, this is like one of the shaky things where it's like you can offer like, hey, like I would say you can offer advice to a new player, but if they're like an entrenched player, say like, hey, good game. If you want to talk about the match, let me know. Otherwise, hope you best of luck in the rest of your rounds. So, like that's a good way to go about it. And even if things didn't go your way, but you still won, then just, take that as well.
And again, I mean, this is probably gonna be like a recurring thing no matter what the excuse is, but don't take the satisfaction of them winning away, because then you're just both mad.
Yep.
And that's terrible. That
It's
does
not good for
nothing.
anyone.
Right.
Yeah. And I don't want to. So these are things that, like, I guess what I want to say is also we should celebrate when people are good sports, right? We have so many good people in our community that pretty much everyone has the ability, and I've seen pretty much everyone in our community be good sports, both in winning and losing. And I just want to see that continue. And I just want to say, like, I haven't seen it too much in Grand Archive, and at least in our local communities, but just, like I said, I've been down that rabbit hole of, man, I just can't win a game. Everything, like, I try just fails, doesn't work, and like, I'm gonna net deck, and even when I net deck, the net deck doesn't, I don't know how to play it. Now I'm frustrated, and and so just going along those lines, I'm just saying, like, just be better. I don't know.
Just enjoy your time there. Like,
It's a game,
right.
If you're not having fun, I'll say this: if the game is not, if any game, Grand Archive, Flesh and Blood, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, don't care. If any game is not fun for you, is you're not having fun, take a step away. I would give you the perfect example. I was not having fun playing Flesh and Blood about 6 weeks ago. I skipped an entire competitive season, Road to Nationals, and I think it helped me so much. My mental state coming back into Flesh and Blood and card games in general has been, like, completely rejuvenated, because I was just able to take a step away and just, like, kind of, like, look at what mattered. What mattered? Me having fun and going out with my friends. And that's, to me, what matters. Like, am I gonna try a little, like, harder to, like, not hard to win? Of course not. I'm gonna try to win, but, like, I'm not gonna completely go on tilt because I went 3-2 at locals.
I think there is a unhealthy amount of mental investment people put in winning locals. If you are traveling to a majors or regionals or whatever, and there's a lot of money on the line and whatever, you have to win in order to feed your family or whatever. Yeah, it will be stressful, and you really want to win. But if you're going to locals and there's 4 packs on the line, it's not worth having a terrible experience, because just buy the packs. Like, that's not what you're going for. You want to practice, you want to get the grinds in and all that. It's just not worth ruining not only your investment, but your experience with friends and the community. Like,
I think another thing that will help you, if you're one of those people out there and you're struggling, you're saying, man, I recognize in myself that I'm losing a lot, and that it's getting me on tilt. And I'm like, when I lose, I get mad, and I'm being kind of, like, not great to my community. Be prepared, like, going into an event. I think that'll help you so much more than, like, trying to, like, and even at locals, at least know what you want to do with your deck and have a game plan for the meta decks that are there. Because I think if you go in prepared, and you can at least tell yourself that I knew it was coming, or at least knew to some extent what it was coming, and I had a game plan for it. Now, did I successfully go through with that game plan? Was that game plan good enough? That's another question. But at least you can say, like, I tried my best.
Yeah,
and I did what I could. And I had fun. Again, these are games. We're playing games.
Yeah.
So they're meant to have fun. Usually when I go to locals, I have a lot of fun. And again, this is, like you said at the beginning, we're not calling anyone out in particular. This is actually something I thought about myself. Like, when we were going through, like, I was like, hey, what are we going to talk about? I was like, well, me personally, I went through, like, this journey of, like, I was getting really invested and getting really terrible to my opponents. And I'm done what I can, I think. And it's still a journey. To try to make it welcoming. I think the biggest thing is welcoming to new players and keeping entrenched players around. Because nothing will get rid of players faster than, like, every time I go to locals, people are just mad.
Yeah. No, and I've been part of locals where people go, please don't match me against that person. And I'm like, that's a very serious issue of, like, people would rather, like, concede than have to just, no. Can we do one more? This is the worst one. This is the one that cooks my grits. And I'll include you because you did it kind of like the correct way, although you weren't directly involved in the game. But my biggest thing is when you win and your opponent decides to educate you on how you didn't win, like, the right way, or you, like, now the way you helped was there was I forgot who I was playing, but I won a game, and you were like, actually, there was like a turn before that where you had lethal, and I was like, wait, how is that?
Oh, but I pulled you aside for
Yeah,
it.
and you showed me, and I was like, oh right, and like I messed that up. I could have done that a little better, or clean. I think it was like I had the kill, but I
It was a
went the
very
long way
like
around.
it was a very like it wasn't the most clear and obvious play, and it was like very like steps had to be taken along the way.
Yeah,
But then you missed that and you cleared a board as opposed to going face.
Right.
And then, so that gave your opponent a window, which that window was very small. Who knows what they could have had to turn around at that point, but it's still an extra turn they wouldn't have even had
Right.
you seen the lethal play. But anyway, go ahead.
and the fact that you took me away, so it's not just like in their face. Like actually, you could even won even better. I'm sure that wouldn't make them feel great. But I see it all the time where someone loses, and the first thing they do is like, "So I'm going to correct you on a bunch of stuff," and the person's like, "But I won," and they're like kind of, and it's like, "No, he won." Like GG, and then you can like recap the game.
Yeah, there's like nuance to it, right? If you guys actually
Yeah.
just have a conversation about the game, well, oh, I could have done this here, and maybe that would have mattered. I do that for my own personal. Usually it's when I lose, but like even when I win, it's like, oh, I probably should have, like in my head, like, oh, I should have materialized this card instead of this other card, and maybe that would have given me like a percentage edge that
Yeah.
the other decision didn't give me. So things like that, where I think there's just a very clear and obvious when you are actually talking with your opponent about having that back and forth and kind of reading your opponent, seeing if they want to talk about the game. Sometimes if they just lost, they don't really want to talk about it. But again, even if they don't want to talk about it, I really hope at the least they can do is extend the hand and say good game. Yeah.
And that just kind of does like a clean breakaway, even if you're mad. Something
And you can go and you can get frustrated. Sorry, you can get frustrated.
Yeah.
That does happen. Remove yourself from the situation. I'm not saying like drop and leave and go home, but I'm saying like remove yourself. Go walk outside, get a breath of fresh air,
Yeah.
come back in, and tell your opponent like, hey, that was a good game. Sorry, I just needed a breath of fresh air or something. But like, I understand playing games, even playing the most fun game. I mean, playing Uno.
Oh.
And I got one card, and someone's like, draw four.
I've had it. I did want to give a shout out though to one of our locals at the Haven, Jesse. We were matched up. He was on a very, as he put it, gimmicky water deck, and that was the deck where I was on Fire Lorraine. He had like a turtle out, and I was just like, I don't know what he's doing, but in a turn, I'm gonna just wipe the board and go to the bank and do whatever. And
Go to the bank.
and he played. He had the poison dagger, and then he played bubble mage, and all of a sudden he did like 16 damage, and he won. And as soon as the match was over, we both kind of like laughed because he was like, "Oh my god, it worked!" And I was like,
yeah.
"I don't even know what just happened." And we recapped the match, and he was like, "Well, it's a gimmick deck, but let me show you how it works." And I was like, "Oh, okay, I've never seen that before." That's like a positive experience. Who would have thought? We both laughed it off. We both had a good time. We weren't playing for pink slips. It was just a fun match. So, no, it was just, and that's something I remember. I don't remember any of the other matches, but it was a good time. So, I don't appreciate being poisoned to death with bubbles and all that stuff, but no, it was a lot of fun.
And
so.
I think with that, that's it. Yeah. Anything else?
The only other thing is, I don't think there was like an official announcement.
Oh, true. We missed
but
this in news.
yeah, but we were told. I think every regional is going to get it. But for our regional on July 29th, we will have supporter packs. I believe they're going to be $3.99 a pack. We should have enough. I think it's at least 3 packs so far for everybody. Some people may not buy them, so that means other people can get more.
Yeah.
But we are going to make sure everyone can get at least one. We are not going to do first come, first serve, and then someone buys out all of them and then leaves before the event even starts. But I know some people, including us, we were like, we're not going to this convention. We can't get them. If you're in the Southeast, if you're coming to the regionals, we'll have some supporter packs for you. So
Awesome.
just looking forward to
That's
that.
great.
But no, I think that wraps it up.
No, that was a great discussion. That's going to be the kind of the format going forward. Just a little, go over the news in the beginning, and then we'll jump into a topic, whether that's Grand Archive related or just TCG related or anything like that. So with that, thank you all for watching. If you can, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know what do you think about sportsmanship? What have you seen in your local communities? Anything cool that someone loses but they're still being really humble or graceful, or same thing for winning, anything like that. I really want to hear the conversation. So you guys really sounded off on that spoiler video, so I love the discussion, and You will be letting know who won those Sylvie decks, right?
Yeah, this I would say by this coming Wednesday, which is the 14th, 13th or 14th, we will notify online people and we'll send you the tracking for everything going out. So.
Awesome. And with that, I think we're out.
Yep.
Peace.
See you.